Hi, I'm Bob Lederer, and welcome to Pharma Research VIDEO Report, where pharmaceutical, healthcare, biotech, and medical device market researchers come for news, insights, and commentary about their specific fields that they just won't find anywhere else. And let's get started for this week. Results from a 2.5-month-long pilot project by HealthCrowd and Health First shows that mobile could be the most cost-effective way to reach Medicaid recipients. 86% of them, according to this project, regularly use mobile technology, making text messaging a very good patient engagement platform. Member response rates were exceedingly high, and opt-out rates were extremely low. One other project result of note: respondents were more likely to take desired behavior-changing action than those who are less responsive to mobile messaging. Next, we all get tired of new things. The only question is, how long will that take? PMLive.com's feature, Wearing It Well, the Healthcare Potential of Wearable Technology, suggests 2014 could signal the start of widespread adoption of wearable technology. And of course, there have been a lot of news items about that here and elsewhere. But this story also asks about its continuing use. Quoting from PM Live, the big problem for companies targeting the consumer end of the market is how to stop these devices from gathering dust in a drawer after the initial techno thrill wears off. End of quote. The solution for that, according to the article, improving the accuracy of sensors and integrating the devices into a network of devices, enabling automatic data collection and interpretation with a minimum of user effort. Moving on, Scientific American is reporting that the FDA is concerned about publicizing early data from pharmaceutical clinical drug tests because it could bias final results. And last week, FDA held a public hearing to discuss the matter, and counterbalancing those concerns, according to experts, is the fact that there are ethical ramifications about keeping that kind of information under wraps. Next, a Park Associates study is revealing the existence of 4 digital health consumer segments which are based on attitudes towards health and healthcare solutions. The first, a group called Healthy and Engaged, is about 26% of our population. These people do not have chronic health problems, and they are the best potential market for digital health products and services. Next, the Challenged but Mindful, about 1/4 of the population. These individuals are health conscious, but they do have a chronic health problem. Third, Unhealthy and in denial, about 28% of us. These people are not health conscious, and they also have chronic health issues. And finally, the young and the indifferent. These 21% remaining in our population are not health conscious, but they're in good health. And by the way, this group is most interested in new healthcare technologies. Closing out today, I learned last week a lot about the field of population health and its foundation, which is that 85% of a person's health has nothing at all to do with either the physician they see or the drugs that they take. With the assistance of PMRG, I was fortunate to spend some quality time with Dr. David Nash, the founding dean of the Jefferson School of Population Health, and the Dr. Raymond C. and Doris N. Grandin Professor of Health Policy at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia.
Thomas Jefferson University is a health sciences university. Our country has 141 allopathic medical schools, and about a dozen of them are inside a health sciences university. What does that mean? Well, that means that healthcare and healthcare education at the graduate level is the only thing we do. So Thomas Jefferson University has Jefferson Medical College, now renamed the Sidney Kimmel College of Medicine, nursing school, pharmacy school, allied health school, graduate school of science, and the School of Population Health. And I have the privilege of being the founding dean of our School of Population Health. We are the only School of Population Health in the United States at the moment. Based on the phone calls I get every day, we have a lot of people lapping at our heels, but for now, we're it.
Why is population health care so important for
Great.
all of us to understand?
Well, it's a really important question. Surely the Affordable Care Act is really one of many key external factors driving us to practice a new type of medicine. And that new type of medical care, we call that practicing population based care. And that means being responsible for the care of a large number of patients and being at economic risk, kind of like capitation from the mid 90s, but also recognizing that it's not just the laying on of hands, the actual delivery of medical care services that contributes to the health of a population. It's explicit recognition that, in fact, 85% of a population's health has nothing to do with the drugs they take or the doctors they go to. It's all about education, socioeconomic status, geography, zip code, choosing your parents wisely, all of those factors. That's 85% of the story. The other 15% of the story is which pill you're on and which healthcare system you go to.
Okay. One of the critical aspects of understanding what's going on is the idea of getting better data from all the different sources and users of information in the healthcare and medical area in order to prove the efficacy and the value of whatever services, whatever drugs and such are being provided. Is that a very popular way of looking things these days? It may be what we all want them to be doing, but is there a popularity to it?
Well, it's certainly very popular. Now comes, can we achieve the vision that you just described? And our school, among other organizations, is at the very focal point of that exact conversation. So let me give you an example. Can we use population health, so-called big data, to do a more effective job? So if I discharge a patient who has asthma from our hospital into a roach-infested ghetto, they're going to be readmitted for their asthma, unless we fix what's going on in the ghetto. If I discharge an obese patient into an environment where there's no good food to eat, they're going to have food insecurity and they're going to be back in the hospital. So
it sounds very much like what's going on with the Ebola crisis in Africa.
Indeed. So without a population health infrastructure, those poor folks in those countries in Africa, there's no hope of containing the Ebola spread unless they have a robust population health infrastructure, clean water, appropriate roads, transportation, education. So we recognize that 85% of a society's well-being are all of those population health issues. So it's not public health, which is really, really important. It's beyond public health. Public health is crucial to our understanding of, vaccination, AIDS containment, smoking cessation, appropriate nutrition. Population health says all of that's important. And on top of that, we're going to put the Affordable Care Act, 19% of the GDP, all of the economic and social issues come together under the umbrella that we call population health.
The issue that comes up to me is that clearly managed care organizations already are focused on data and proving value and trying to limit costs and such. But pharmaceutical companies are driven by revenues and profits.
Yes.
Doctors may not be as driven and inclined to accept payment based on outcomes as opposed to the number of patients that they can see. How do we get those factors and the other elements in the industry to be thinking along those lines and accepting that way of thinking?
Well, let's break down your question to two parts. So first, I appreciate that you recognize that the managed care industry, in order to be successful at their core mission, they are practicing a form of population-based care, right? They're allocating resources in a cost-effective way to obtain the greatest possible outcome and achieve the greatest value. That is their core economic mission.
Can I stop you right there and ask you, are they in some cases being too earnest along those lines? Because that is an ongoing criticism.
To support it. I mean, the research evidence is pretty clear that managed care delivers a better product, a better outcome at a cheaper price. So that's why I said it's at the core of their economic mission. Sure, we could quibble about maybe withholding this surgery and that drug, but from a population health perspective, managed care organizations have every economic incentive aligned today to achieve the vision of population health, whereas hospitals, we're in a 3 to 5 year window, to get to your second question, we're in a 3 to 5 year window to realign with the value equation. We've got to move from more is better to less is better, and to a world of no outcome, no income. No outcome, no income. That's where the delivery system, where we actually care for patients, has to go. And admittedly, per your great question, this is not an easy journey. We're in the midst of this transition right now. Many experts believe it's a 3 to 5 year journey. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 4, but somewhere in there, 3 to 5 years, I think we're going to see this total transmogrification even of the healthcare industry. And these are inexorable forces because the current spending is unsustainable. There can't be a middle class, effective middle class, when healthcare premiums and out-of-pocket healthcare spending is at its current level. It's not reconcilable. So we've got to figure this out.
What happens if we don't achieve what we're trying to achieve within that 3 to 5 year window?
Well, then we're going to have to make some very difficult, more rationing-based decisions and make it all an economic argument in terms of a cap on spending. So I would much prefer we don't do that. I'm not in favor of price control or a cap, although Maryland is attempting to do that with some success. I'm all about improving access, reducing waste, doing the right test on the right patient at the right time to achieve the best outcome, selecting the appropriate drug where appropriate, spending for Sovaldi that makes sense. You get the idea. So we can do this, and I'm calling on the industry that we've had wonderful working relationship with for 25 years. I'm calling on big pharma and little pharma to get in the game with us, help us to gather the data, the economic data that will enable us to figure out what's the best drug to put on the formulary for the largest number of patients. How do we achieve the greatest good for the greatest number? That's in part population.
You recently met with one of the major, big pharma people. What kind of reaction did you get from them?
Yes, well, I have the privilege of working for many years with Johnson & Johnson, and their corporate headquarters are not too far from our school. And just the other day, meeting with executives who are in charge of understanding how clinical integrated networks are evolving and how they're getting paid. So on the one hand, we have this evolution of the move from volume to value on the clinical integrated network side. And on the other hand, we have pharma still being paid on a per pill basis. I think we'll be able to reconcile most of this within a 3 to 5 year time frame. And one way we'll do that is by pharma participating with us in good health economics and outcomes research and comparative effectiveness research. What's the right drug for the right patient at the right time? We still don't know the answer to that in many settings, most especially in the ambulatory setting.
Okay.
So we have a lot of work to do.
Okay. Overall, is the Affordable Care Act a plus towards those goals?
There is no question in my mind that the Affordable Care Act is a major step in the right direction. We could quibble about its implementation for sure. It's too complicated, all kinds of issues. But if you believe the research evidence that access to care improves morbidity and mortality, recent evidence in Annals of Internal Medicine, the experiment in Massachusetts, the work in Maryland, there is no question in my mind that that bill is pushing us in the correct direction. It's a bumpy road, lots of potholes, but it's a road we have to be on.
If you'd like to get in touch with Dr. Nash, you can email his associate, elizabeth.debonis@jefferson.edu. That's this week's Pharma Research Video Report. By now, I think you know that our video is available in the cloud for those of you who can't view YouTube. And we've got another alternative if you need to work around YouTube. You can download the RVDR app from the Apple Store. And then you can view Pharma Research Video Report on any iOS device. So your options to view our video are plentiful. And we hope that you'll share it with your friends, peers in the business. Good luck with your research, and we'll see you here next week.